Hello, my friends. Welcome. It is Friday night. I believe this is the last day in April. And I'm very excited to have y'all here. Smart Self Livestream. Tonight we are talking about self-efficacy, believing in the self. And I just want to do a quick tech check because I was having some trouble getting myself on screen earlier. Can someone please do me the honor of commenting on whatever platform you're watching from? Give me a comment and let me know if you can see me live, if you can see the video on screen. And I am very excited to have you guys all here. Honestly, your eyeballs and your eardrums mean the world to me. Please feel free to comment throughout the show. Put in your questions. We will address them as they come up. And please let me know in the comments if you can see the video on screen, if you're getting the audio. I just want to make sure everything is working properly. You know how tech is. And yes, thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate the comment and listening. So thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am very excited to have a really cool topic today. We're talking about believing in the self. Scientists call it self-efficacy. And I am not doing this alone. I never do. I am going to have my guest here, Bobby Manard. He and I met on LinkedIn. I meet so many of my guests, and it's one of those serendipitous friendships that I'm really glad. I don't even remember which one of us reached out, to be honest, but I'm really glad that we did. We've got Bobby on audio today. And Bobby, I'm going to say hello. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me, and welcome to all those listening. And here's to an excellent show. It'll be fun, informative, and hopefully we'll all learn something tonight.
Thank you so much for being here. I have to say, the one thing that drew me to you, Bobby, from day one was the positive, inspiring posts that you put on LinkedIn. And I'm wondering, do you do that every single day? Like, I don't follow you closely enough to confirm if you do it every single day. So that's question number one.
Yeah, as far as LinkedIn, I do not yet post every day. And it's more, I know that the spirit kind of moves me to post. And so it's pretty much right from the heart. And it's what I sense that could be useful for everyone, including myself. So
that is awesome.
That answers that question.
Yeah, and that was really going to be my second question, whether you write these yourself or if you maybe collaborate with someone, but you definitely answered that. I want to share today's post with folks listening today. You've got a quote on screen and then your own personal write-up here. What's it like when you believe in yourself? I mean, when you truly and fully believe in yourself. Are you living from that place now? If so, how do you know? If not, what would it take to get you there? What would it then take to be there consistently? As you imagine living your life from a space of great belief, what is possible for you? What is then possible for those you love? Do you want this for your life? Do you really, really want this? What would you be willing to release to let this happen? What would you be willing to now be? These are interesting questions you may want to consider, as they've helped make a big difference in my life and in the lives of my clients. What about you? What if you chose to really believe in yourself now? Isn't it time? I just, you and I have had a conversation. It was a weeks ago now, but I couldn't, I was thinking about the write-up for today, and I took a look at your profile, and that post, I think, summed up a lot of what we were talking about. Now, in the work that you do, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but in the work that you do, how much of the success of the people you work with depends on whether or not they believe in themselves?
Well, that's a great question, and it really is a big component. So in all that we do in life, we certainly need a certain amount of skill sets as well, and so that's important. So you're not going to be a pilot and fly a plane just because you believe you can. You still need the skills. And for most of us, a lot of people have, a lot of education. They have many things going for them, but they may have had some experiences in life that had led them to believe that they're quote unquote not good enough, or not experienced enough, or didn't learn enough, or, you know, whatever that enough is that they're either saying to themselves consciously or unconsciously. And so even though they might have all the education or most of the education or most of what they need, they're not putting that together with a really powerful belief system. So they may say, well, now is not the time, or I just went through, you know, a loss of a job, or a change in a relationship, or I lost somebody close to me that I love, or, you know, I live in a different location, or whatever it is that they have faced. Many times they actually have most of what they need to at least take the next step, but they struggle because of the belief that they have about themselves, or maybe an event happened in their life and they're telling themselves a story that they can't do it because they're too young, too old, male, female, a certain ethnicity, you know, so something happened to them. And really what part of my job in working with them is to challenge that belief, or those series of beliefs. A lot of times they come in packs that's holding them back. So to answer your question, it's really an integral part of what makes them successful. We're taught in life that, you know, many times that we have to get more education. So we get a degree or another degree or a certain certification or whatever it is in our field. And those things are important. Yet, if you have all of this education but don't believe in yourself, you leave too much on the table. And my job and my passion is to help really talented people to kind of connect those dots so that they can live full on in life. And especially now, because quite frankly, a lot of people are struggling. And I want to see people, especially good, talented, hardworking people, to really live life where they can't wait to get up on Monday morning. They're not waiting for Friday afternoon, but they're looking forward to working because it's what they're passionate about. They're getting better at it every day from a skill standpoint. They believe in themselves. They have a sense of mission and purpose about their lives.
Yeah.
To me, that's phenomenal, and it's open to everyone.
So I'm curious about how much this played a role in the work that you do today. You know, I read through your introduction on LinkedIn, and, you know, I know that your personal story plays a role in the work that you do. Did you ultimately cross over from self-doubt to self-confidence before you were able to start doing this work? What was that journey like for you?
Yeah, I think confidence comes with the doing. So it's a lot of people want to wait until they're confident before they do something. It doesn't really work that way. So, you know, you have an inkling that as far as in my own life, you know, I've been coaching people for years, and even when I was back then in the corporate world, but, you know, you alluded to my story. I faced 6 major life changes in a very short period of time. Each one of them that was, I would say, devastating. So collectively, the whole change was brutal. And for me, it was finally, you know, the time to say, you know, these are my gifts, these are my passions. It's time to really make a difference. But first and foremost, I actually had to apply it to myself.
Yes.
And so the road to confidence for me from that perspective was, you know, at that point was one step at a time. But when I work with clients now, you know, I have a lot of strategies for helping them to kind of shortcut that and to ask them really powerful questions like on the post today is, what do you really, really want? And that help them to start owning that, and to ask, what does it even look like? Because most people don't even know what it looks like. Or a lot of times people want something that maybe their parents want it for them, or their teachers, or their coach, or their old boss, or somebody said, you're good at ABC, and maybe you are good at ABC, but it's not what you're passionate about. So it's really, the road to confidence is being clear on what it is that you really want. And sometimes it's undoing the layers that block you, your fears, your concerns, your beliefs that don't support you, the old stories that you're telling about yourself, the self-image, your self-esteem. So there's a lot of pieces depending on who you are as a person at different times in your life are going to impact you. So we go, depending on the person, we go deep to say, what is it? And then let's clear those away. Let's clear the debris away so that we can have real clarity on what it is that you want. And then say, from a practical standpoint, what are some of the steps that you need to take?
Sure.
You know, maybe it is a course that you need to take, or maybe it's reaching out to somebody who has a connection in the area that you're interested in, so that you can, you know, at least have a Zoom meeting, or, you know, if you're able to do it in person, have it in person, to just practically take the next step. But the steps on the practical side are actually the easy part. It's doing the work on the inside to say, what is it that I really, really want? And, you know, knowing that sometimes the people that love you aren't going to support you.
Well,
they might not be on your side. It might be complete strangers that might give you more support than somebody who's close, because they're used to seeing you as who you are now.
Sure.
And so when you have a vision of something greater, you know, sometimes that creates an opportunity for growth for yourself, but sometimes other people may want to hold you back for some reason.
For sure.
So
well,
be aware of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, not always for, you know, like sometimes it's for well-meaning purposes, right? Even if it might not serve you, someone might stand in your way because they actually believe that going down this path is going to be bad for you. They're trying to essentially transfer their fear to protect you. And that's, it doesn't mean that everyone's out to sabotage you, but it is really critical, I think, to go back to the why, that core goal, as you mentioned. You know, what is it that you actually want? And, you know, you talked about the fact that a lot of us will focus on, you know, do I have the right credential? Do I have the right education? Do I know the how? Right now, online courses from all of the gurus are extremely popular. You know, I'll show you how I made $1 million in X time, whatever. And so we focus on the how. And then, you know, I definitely know lots of people who have spent a lot of money trying to figure out the how and still haven't achieved the goal. Can you think of a reason why we gravitate to the how? Is it just more comfortable because we can wrap our minds around it better?
Well, think about it too. That's part of it. And part of it is that's what we're taught.
Yes.
More education, more this, more that. We're taught as human beings, at least in the Western world, to look on the outside.
Yes, that is so true. So true.
So when you look when you go on the outside, sorry to interject. When you go on the outside, initially it's easier, right? Because you have a handle on it. But it's and that's why, you know, you've probably seen on my profile, my site is insideout.coach, because it's really when you do the work on the inside first and say, you know, I can use myself as an example of what, you know, some of the journey that I want. I've read thousands and thousands of books. I've studied from
I saw that
many of the greatest mentors in the world. But part of that, a lot of that is good, and that's thankfully I can apply that to my clients. But a lot of that was because I was still looking on the outside for the next person or the next guru or the next, you know, coming from a space back then of quote unquote not being enough.
Yes.
What I realized is, you know, the gurus do have a lot to offer. So if there's somebody that you admire, by all means, learn from that person. Sure. And one of the things that I'll share with you is it's really, really important to translate that, you know, they may in fact be sharing with you what made them successful, and their personality is different than yours. So it's going to be really important for you to translate what works for you, because in my own experience, when I was a lot younger, I would feel bad. I would apply exactly what they said, and it wasn't working.
Yes.
Well, and part of that goes to my value system might be different. My belief systems might be different. What's important to me might be different. So it doesn't make me a bad person. It says, I'm going to learn as much as I can from John Doe or Mary Smith, and yet I am going to incorporate it into my life, my values, what's important to me. So it keeps coming back to what's my why.
Totally.
And even to the point of what's my why of taking this course? What's my why of reading this book? Or what's my why of listening to this podcast?
Yes.
So what can I do with it so that it's in concert with my goals and my dreams and my passion, and for me, my calling. So me being on this call is part of my calling.
For sure. Well, and I think that speaks to the heart of why your posts are so deep. And it's clear to me anyway, that they are well thought out and meaningful. This isn't just a bunch of keywords slammed together, So what is your why?
I think part of it is, there's several layers to it, but part of it is, for much of my life, I've seen people really good people working really hard, and they're quote unquote successful in whatever field they're in because they're diligent and they're smart and they're hardworking and they're nice people and they get along and they do all the quote unquote right things, yet inside they're not happy.
Yes.
They're not aligned with what they really want. So, whether it's people that have been, teachers or doctors or lawyers and successful because they worked hard, they did what they were supposed to do, but inside they're miserable because they don't like what they're doing.
Yeah.
Or they don't like the situation they're in, or, they've had changes in their lives and maybe they have family now and they want more time with their loved ones or whatever it is. They're starting to revisit it and relook at it and say, what is it that I want? And for me, since I've had rules of training and my own life experiences, and I'm very intuitive as a person, the why is, what a great life it would be to be able to help great people be aligned so that they can make the difference that they're meant to make, especially during times of a pandemic.
For sure.
Even beyond that, so that because people, I posted something about a year ago that some people didn't like, but it was, I saw COVID from my perspective as a great way to revisit what's really important to you. All this change is going on, all these horrible things are happening, et cetera, and it's like it's a great way to take a look at, well, what do I value? What do I really want from my life? What do I want from my loved ones?
Sure.
Am I living it? And so I've been asking these questions of myself for years. And so I didn't just do it for myself, but it's like, isn't it great that I can do that for other people who are good people, who are talented people? So that's going to multiply the impact because they're going to touch people that I may never reach. So for me, that's really exciting because I see the multiplier effect. Like, part of my why is to add value every day, but when I can add it and multiply it, then I know at least at the end of my life, I can say, I think I used my gifts in a way that made a difference. I think that's what everyone wants at some level.
Yes, I think that's true.
Afraid.
Yeah, we really do want to leave some kind of legacy, right? I remember in an English university English class, I think it was first year, the professor talked about death and how it's portrayed in books and in life, and how when someone passes away, we take the heaviest rock, this boulder, and we put it in that place and we carve their name on it in hopes that it'll stay. It's this thing that stays. And I think we all want that legacy in some way, ideally a positive way. And how do you achieve that when you feel like, maybe there's something you're interested in, but you can't make the contribution you want. And so this makes me think of the fact that you might have a goal. So you might tell yourself that, my why is to, I don't know, save marriages. And you have a vision for how to save every marriage. But the truth is you only have the how to save a handful. And so you never pull the trigger because it is not enough. So even if you believe in your idea, you might not believe the impact is enough. Sometimes, it's that perfection piece. I'll launch when it's perfect. How often do you talk to people that have something that is ready, that the world needs, and they will not go to market?
All the time. I mean, I used to call myself a recovering perfectionist. So I understand it. That's why I laughed when you said it about being perfect. So here's the challenge that some of us have to face, and that is, I'm hearing some echo, so just, part of the challenges that people face is that in school, you get the A if you're perfect, and you get 100% or whatever. You get the good grades, and you get the kudos. In life, it works the opposite. Quote-unquote failure has to be a part of your process. So, there's a lot of quotes out there about failing, but truly you only fail when you stop.
Yeah.
You have to understand that when you're undertaking something that's your dream or your calling or your mission in life, there's going to be a lot of steps along the way that, quote unquote, from the outsider looks like a failure. But you know that with every action you take, whether you fail or succeed, you can learn. And so the goal is to learn as much as you can every day and keep taking steps towards that dream and that passion. And that if it's saving marriages, I would ask somebody, what is it about saving marriages that you really love?
Yes.
What is it? What's that feeling? And then what I would do is help them to take that feeling into today. So take that feeling of whatever it feels like, feels awesome, it feels fulfilling. Take that feeling of fulfillment and ask yourself, what's the next step you can take to do it? So that, here's the thing, when I've had a lot of dreams that have manifested, but, they started out one way and, do it, the gurus would say, write it down, write all the details. But as I started out there and going out there and taking steps, I had to be flexible with what would happen because I never really knew exactly what was going to happen. I just knew the general direction and, things. So you have to be open to that. But in school, you want to have every step right so that you get, the A grade or the best grade you can get. In life, it's take the steps, keep taking the steps and learn. So you don't, maybe you don't repeat the same quote unquote mistakes, but you keep taking the steps and you have the courage to do that. And as you do that, we talked about confidence earlier. That's when you build the confidence to know, no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay. I'm not going to be homeless. I'm not going to, lose everything. My family's still going to love me or whatever. Or maybe you have none of that, but you say, no matter what happens, I'm going to grow from this. And I'm going to be a better person because of this goal. So it's not necessarily the achievement of the goal. I will always tell people, set a goal big enough so that you have to become a bigger, more effective, more expansive person to even achieve it. And then who knows where you'll be in a year.
Sure.
Your level of possibility keeps growing because you're taking steps. But, along the way, again, your closest friends and families may not support you. That's why people will go to a coach or go to somebody else who is on the same path and actually believes in them, can help support them and give them legitimate strategies for helping them to get to where they want to be. Then you start, life is interesting because when you start seeing it's possible, and all of a sudden you start saying, I know I can do this. I don't know exactly how it's going to happen.
Sure.
And, I don't have all the money or all the contacts, or I'm not famous. I'm not a New York Times bestselling author, but I know this is going to happen. And it's really interesting because then now you're at a different vibrational level, and all of a sudden people start coming into your life. You
Sure.
get asked to do things that are in line with the dream that it may have been just a dream a couple of years ago, and now you're starting to live it.
Sure.
You
And
know, so
sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, I think the experiential side of that is really important. You know, you said one thing that I don't fully agree with, you know, like I'm not going to end up homeless. I'm not going to lose everything. Depending on how much you gamble, on how great of a risk you take, how quickly, you could be risking everything. But that's part of the journey. That's part of the experience. And if you can handle that level of risk and discomfort, then, you know, that's a choice that you can make. But there was something that you said about, you know, bringing that joy into this moment. And I think that that comes from enjoying the process, enjoying every day. I personally love growing businesses, and I love growing people. I love helping people discover capabilities, capacities they didn't know they had. And there are times where I take huge risks in order to do that. And then there are also times, so this is a little bit of a switch of a topic. There are also times where I'm trying to help a business or help a person, and they might say they want to grow, they want that result, but they don't actually like the process. So talk to me about that, like I don't know, like a misunderstanding in assessing what you actually want. Is it failure to back off at that point?
Yeah. So when you say they don't like the process, you know, certainly there's going to be steps in your process that you're probably not necessarily going to be thrilled with. So for me, it's more what I help people to do, what I do for myself, is focus on the results of, for instance, I know that if I'm working with ABC client, that she's going to get phenomenal results based on what she says she wants and the services that I offer. So I focus on that. So along the way, some of the steps may be messy.
Mm-hmm.
They may not want to make the shifts that they have to make initially because they're kind of in a comfort zone. And kind of part of my job is to help shift them out of that comfort zone so they can get what they really want. So, you know, a lot of people, to use an example, would love to lose, you know, X amount of pounds or kilos of weight.
Yep.
But
Good
they
example.
don't really want to diet or exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So they want the results without the work. So that's part of tapping into that why. What is it that, you know, I might repeatedly ask, so why is that important?
Mm-hmm.
So you want X, so why is that important? So if you have X, what's really important about that? And we'll go several layers down. So really get into that base level of emotion and feeling and say, great. So let's remember this as you're going through some of the steps that, you know, you've told me you may or may not like these, and that's okay. And yet, because you have this higher vision and this higher purpose driving you, you know, if you have children or infants and you're changing their diapers, you may not like that. Maybe
Fair.
A lot of people don't like it, but you know, it's part of the process of raising a happy, healthy, effective, you know, contributor to society, a beautiful soul. So,
For sure.
So there's those pieces that I'm going to be the first one to say not every step is necessarily, you know, I'm jumping for joy, but I know my why. And a lot of times throughout the day, I'll say, what's my why? What really is my why?
Yes.
In case I get sidetracked, because, you know, with smartphones and, you know, a zillion messages a day, we all get sidetracked.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, what is my purpose? What are my values? What's the most important thing for me to be doing right now in my life? You know, that kind of thing. And, you know, I live what I share with clients so that I want to maximize the most of my days too.
Absolutely.
And even if it's a challenging step, a lot of times we'll say, well, how can I make a game out of this? Whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
How do I make a game out of getting this done? You know, I'm not a fan of doing laundry, but you know, it has to be done so I don't scare people, right?
For sure. And I think,
you know, how do I make a game out of having fun with it? So for me, I always put on a music track that I really like that gets me inspired and motivated. So I'm having fun, and you know, not to give you too bad of a visual, but I like to dance. So I'm dancing when I'm doing laundry.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't really like doing it, but
yeah. I hear you.
It's a necessary thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, totally. I'm gonna jump in and share a bit of an anecdote of my own. Like I am not a fitness person. As much as I would love to be considered strong or to actually be strong, to have a certain bikini body, all of that would be awesome. It would be great. But I am not a gym person. I'm not a calorie counting person. I am not a weigh my food person. And so for a long time, whenever I came up with fitness goals, they were often things like, oh, I'm going to lose this amount of weight, or I'm going to be able to do a chin up by the end of summer or something. And what I've discovered is I don't like the process. What I do love is dancing. And so I'm a terrible dancer. Like I should never dance for people to view. Yeah, it's not something that I should do for the entertainment. Well, maybe for the entertainment of others if you want comedy. But what I'll do is I'll put some music on and dance with my kids in my family room for 30 minutes. And it's just like doing the treadmill for 30 minutes. Like I've sweat, I've burned a ton of calories, and I didn't exercise, I danced. So I think that's maybe a good example of what I mean by enjoying the process. Maybe the goal shouldn't be that I want to lose a certain amount of weight. Maybe it's that I want to have healthy activities, and that I enjoy on a regular basis. Maybe that becomes the goal.
Yeah, and you can ask yourself the question. It's a simple question. How can I have fun doing healthy activities and enjoy the process? And then just write it down or speak it into your smartphone. Just brainstorm 10 ideas. It could be dancing. It could be, I'm not really, although I was a former college athlete, I'm not really a gym person. I like to do my own thing. So it's like, I ask myself, how can I incorporate it into my day? So, if I go to a grocery store, I park at the end of the parking lot. So it forces me to walk a little bit more. So, throughout my day, I'm doing stuff that it doesn't bother me. I'm not like going to go to the gym for 5 hours. That's not my thing, although I have friends that do it. Good for them. But, I'm going to do it in a way that works within my personality.
Absolutely.
And if I can have fun doing it, then I'm going to do it more, and it's going to be consistent. And then I'm going to be, it's going to be a lot easier to achieve those goals. And I would say that for all, whether it's business or personal, if you can, at least from my perspective, if you can incorporate play or fun, you're going to look forward to doing it. Because if it becomes a chore, probably only 1% of the people are going to do the chores.
Yeah. Yeah. And those disciplined people, they're impressive, right? Like, I don't know how you push yourself to do something you hate every day. But kudos to you. Anyone out there who's like that, that's some like military level discipline. And I do respect it, although I don't have it. So I do want to also touch on the fact that we live in a very interesting world. Everyone's got an opinion. And if like most people today, and I'm making an anecdotal assumption here, I would think that most of us today know more other people, interact with more people than, someone in our shoes 50 years ago or 100 years ago would. And then on top of that, you've got social media and crazy stories in your face on a regular basis of these incredible successes, people who were prodigies at the age of 13, someone who discovered a special cure for a disease, or the 22-year-old who became a billionaire. There's all of these feedback mechanisms that tell us we're not good enough. And then on top of that, I think, and this is just my opinion, I recognize that it's mine and not anyone else's, but my opinion is that we also have pundits, people out there who spend their entire career. It's like they're championing the message, you're a victim, the world's put you down. And maybe it's true sometimes, but I genuinely worry about the impact of hearing and believing that the world is out to get you, or that, like personally, to tell myself I'm a victim, I know that that would not work for my psychology. I know that I would blame others and set my goals a little bit smaller so that I could maybe achieve them, because I'd still want the wins. I'd still want some wins, but I worry about how we're raising our young people, and what we're teaching them to believe about themselves. I feel like we've had a huge shift from, everybody gets a trophy at soccer to, you didn't get a trophy because someone's out to get you. I don't know if you have any opinions on the youth element of this and the narrative that we collectively are creating. So not really a question in there, more of a, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, so a couple of things. First of all, I'll throw this out to you and I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but
sure.
Something you might want to think about afterwards is to channel your worry into what you can do, because that energy that you have, we only have so many energy units in a day.
Yeah.
And as a person that was a chronic worrier in my youth, it wasn't worthwhile. So once you notice yourself worrying, just say, yeah, all right, that's just me worrying. So what can I do about what I want, what's important to me? So
yeah.
So I just wanted to throw that out.
No, it's a good point.
Sure,
it's a good point.
It's just to catch yourself on it, because if you have 100 chips a day and you spend 20 of them worrying, well, that's 20 that could have been spent elsewhere. So
that's totally fair.
Not to put the pressure on you to be perfect either.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, one of the things I learned from one of my mentors was Jack Canfield. He's probably most famous, known for Chicken Soup for the Soul, but he also wrote a book called The Success Principles, and I spent a year in-depth study with him directly.
Wow.
And one of the most important principles, the very first principle that I've lived my life by for years, is act as if. Now I'm going to say this slowly because people usually don't hear it fully. Act as if you're 100% responsible for everything that happens in your life, even if you're not.
Yes.
You act as if. When you try that experiment, and I'll ask you to try it for 30 days, anybody listening, to act as if you are responsible. Even if somebody cuts you off in traffic, fires you, gets you sick, trips you or whatever, just act in your life, even though you might be, I'm not saying you don't have any, reason to redress or be upset. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying to be a robot, but when you act as if you are responsible for everything in your life, for everyone that I've known, including myself, who has done that experiment, my life has changed.
Yes.
So with that said, the concern for what you're saying, I used to see several years ago. I was a stepfather to 3 stepchildren. I used to see a lot of times, one of my stepkids, their team came in last place, and they still all got big trophies. And I really struggled with that. I understand what they were trying. The intention was to strengthen everyone's self-esteem, and yet what I think they were learning to some extent was that they didn't really have to work for what they want in life. So part of it I attributed to a generational thing. Yeah. Sometimes life can be really cruel and will expect exacting results from you. So I realized that I'd like the principle better to act as if you are responsible. So at that time, we were teaching the kids that, act as if you are responsible. What would you do differently? How could you make the team better? If you were the coach, what would you do? We would ask them these questions, even though, at their level, this is grade appropriate, so that they could start seeing that they could take, to the extent that they could, they can take control and charge of their destiny. And there's a lot of things in our life that we have no control over.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot more things than we realize that we have no control over. So when we start asking, do I really have control over this? Without being a victim, just neutral. Do I have control? If the answer is yes, then say, great, what's the next step I can take? What is it that I can do to kind of shape and shift this direction. Because when we think of the future, the people that are most successful in the future are the people that are creating it now. And everyone on this call can decide to create the future that they want. And now it may not come up exactly as you put on your goal sheet or your vision board, but you can start thinking about, what do you value? What's important? What do you want? How do you want to shape the future based on wherever it is that you live, in your community, in your workplace, wherever you have influence right now? Start to think of that. Start owning and start believing and knowing that you can have some influence, because you can. Now, are you going to be, a world leader? I don't know. Maybe somebody on this call will be. But you don't have to wait till you're a world leader to have an influence. You can have it right now. And relative to the comment you said about on social media, all these people that are superstars, or, they're billionaires at 20, or they're supermodels, or whatever it is they are, that's a trap that people have to be aware of. That what I look at myself is, a lot of times they'll say, where was I a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? And the only one I'm really competing with is myself.
Yeah.
And even if, I don't even know if competing is the right word, but it's, you can get into, there's a term I heard years ago, and I really love it, and it's called comparanoia.
I like it.
You compare people, they have a beautiful family life, or, if I look at people that I used to, go to school with or work years ago, they're, multi-gazillionaires or something like that.
Sure.
And then now I just say, I just send them love. I'm happy for them. I want as many people as possible to be wildly successful.
Yes.
And then I look at myself and say, I have a different set of skill sets. I have different life experiences. I have different stories that I tell myself about what's happened in my life. I've faced a lot of, in my own life journey, I've faced a lot of challenges that, thank goodness, I'm not in that space anymore. And so I look at it, good for them. And if they've done really well, I use it to try to, as an inspiration, like, wow, if they can do that, what could I do?
For sure.
But I don't look at it, I'm careful to say, they're so much further ahead and I'm terrible and I haven't done anything with my life or whatever. Because a lot of people, it's interesting, a lot of very successful people do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't realize it, but they do it. It's not everyone does it.
For sure.
And so you just say, if Mary's doing well or John's doing well, I send them love. Like, I'm happy for them. I'm really excited for them, because what it tells me is, hey, it's open for me too.
Yeah.
What I want is going to be different than what they want.
Yeah.
Or what I want is not, they might want to own tons of real estate or something, or they might want to be a great athlete or be in the gym 6 hours a day. What I want to do is use my gifts to make a difference in people's lives. So it's different.
Yeah. And I think for sure. And I think it makes sense. We talked about the gurus following someone else's path. I think, that makes a lot of sense if you're able to do it in a similar place, a similar time, to a similar audience, and your goal is to become a similar person or to achieve a similar goal. But the truth is, the same way we all have unique fingerprints, we are all uniquely equipped to do something that no one else is equipped to do. And so maybe my personal goal and destiny isn't to become the, obviously the date has passed, but isn't to become the 22-year-old billionaire, but rather than to take that advancement and bring it to a group of people that I am like just me, all by myself. I'm the best person to bring that to a specific community, or I'm the best person, the only person who's going to see that gap for a particular country or a cause. And really, one person's win, if it is in the same space as my win, is not competition. It's a building block. Now, what can I do now that exists? Whether I am standing on that story or collaborating with that tech or that knowledge, How does that grow and improve my purpose? Because the timing, I've heard people say to me, is it just convenient to decide that everything happens for a reason and that the time is always right? This is whatever's happening is happening exactly when it's supposed to in your life. Maybe it's convenient. Maybe it is a lie. Maybe it's an illusion. But it's equally possible that the world is out to get me and this is the worst timing ever is also an illusion. And so I choose the illusion. Like, let's just agree that it's all BS. Okay. I choose the illusion that serves me because I choose to keep moving forward. And I think that that's hard because when you keep moving forward, if you fail, there's no one else to blame. And then we come back to that blame piece, right? That it's easier to maybe decide that it's not meant for you, that the cards are stacked against you, all of that.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, everyone on the call, I want you to write down what you just said. I choose to believe the illusion that serves me.
Yeah.
That is really, I'm serious. I mean, that's something I would put, I don't know if you do this, but I have these kind of colorful markers that you can write on your car window. I put them in my mirror.
Nice.
That would be a statement I would put on my mirror until I locked it in. Because it is all an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's going to be an illusion, why not use your imagination to choose the illusion that serves you? That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal because, and all along the way, when you're quote unquote failing, I put that in quotes, I work with people that say, well, what story are you telling yourself? What's the story? So when I was faced, when I faced all the changes, I call it the dark night of the soul time, the story I told myself was not a story that I suggest anyone tell themselves, but I told myself I'm a failure, meaning it was my identity as a failure.
Yes.
Well, so if you can imagine I'm a failure, well, what kind of actions does a failure take? None, or very little, or not good ones.
Yeah, exactly. Self-sabotaging ones. Yeah.
Right. So when you start shifting that to, for me, there was a lot of stages, but the next stage was from I'm a failure to this failed. So you can feel it, that pulled it away just a little bit.
Yes.
So now I say that time in my life was the greatest turning point in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel the difference?
Totally.
And it's not just the words. I didn't just somehow pull these words out of thin air. There was a lot of work that I did some of the same work that I do with other people so that they can get to that point to say that. But I honestly know it in my heart of hearts that it was the greatest turning point in my life and set me up for living the dreams that I'm living today, right now, as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
So words that you use matter. The stories that you tell yourself matter. So if you're telling yourself a story that you've told yourself for years, and usually there's some level, probably a lot, but usually some level of victim energy in that story, and you get some kind of kudos for it or sympathy or whatever it is that you get. If you're really honest with yourself and say, isn't it time to change that story? What would be a better version of that story? And you're the storyteller.
Yes.
You're the illusion maker, so why not tell the story that works for you at this stage in your life? See, I couldn't tell the story I'm telling you now about what transpired in my life. I couldn't tell it back then.
Yes.
I literally couldn't tell it because I was just completely devastated. So, and I was just trying to do whatever I could do to pick up the pieces.
Stay afloat, right? Yeah.
Right, just to get through the minutes and the hours and whatever. So what I would ask those who are listening, if you have a story or somebody you love has a story that they're telling themselves that doesn't serve them anymore or maybe never served you, so can you challenge the story? Do you have the courage to challenge your own story that's holding you back?
Yes.
Because no matter what people have told you, and people can say, oh, that's easy for you to say, but regardless of what your background is, where you came from, your, male, female, what your ethnicity is, at the end of the day, your story is more powerful than anything. So why not tell the story that helps you to win at the game of life that you want to win?
For sure. And to write your own story, to pick up the damn pen. Because, you know, even if the story is going to, like, it's going to have ups and downs, there are going to be moments of darkness. But yeah, what do you get out of those moments of darkness? And you know, this idea of responsibility, this idea of, you know, we are actually prophets for our own success. And in the description for this show, I quoted Henry Ford. I believe this is credited to him. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And we focus so much, we talked earlier, on the how. You know, what do I need to do? What are the hows and what are the whats that need to be done here? And the boxes I need to check. But, you know, at the core of it all, the self-fulfilling prophecy actually happens at day one. You know, if I tell myself I'm going to lose 50 pounds, but I don't believe it, there's no reason for me to put the effort into the hows and the whats. I might as well instead ask myself, what is a goal I can believe in? You know, maybe it's that I lose 5 pounds. And then I figure out the how and the what. And I can actually be a self-fulfilling prophet in a positive way, in a way that serves me. And, you know, living in the world that we do today, where, again, everyone's got an opinion and they're mostly not nice. And, you know, my big goal behind this live stream, this podcast, is that ultimately I want us to all be smarter. I want us to all give to each other. I want it to be positive and casual and feel natural and good. And we can't do that while we are trying to hide in the darkness so no one sees our weaknesses. And we can't do that if we're not willing to share parts of ourselves that will make someone else better. You know, the fact is, I am living someone's dream right now. And I go and move my goalpost further out. But I'm living someone's dream right now. And I can share that, and I can be a sounding board and all of that. But ultimately, it comes down to believing in oneself. And wherever you are today, you overcame a lot to get there. Even if you're in a dark place. You know, even if you're in the downturn in that journey. Go ahead, sorry.
I'm gonna say, especially when you're in a dark place. And I can say that from personal knowledge.
Yes.
You know, major, you know, losses in 6 different areas, very short period of time.
Yeah.
So, you know, and the one thing I was going to say that you talked about believing, there's a shift that I would encourage people to make. It's even stronger than believing, and it's knowing. When you say, you know, let's say you said, I believe I can lose 5 pounds, whatever. But when you say, I know I can lose 5 pounds, you can feel the energy shift in that.
Yes.
So I want you to start getting to a place where you know that I can, you know, so like say, you know, there was a friend of mine, I don't generally work with people on weight loss, but there was a friend of mine that had some weight going on, and they were eating too many cookies. So I just asked him, I said, can you eat a quarter less cookie than you normally eat? Because they usually eat like 4 or 5 cookies a day or whatever the number was, big ones. I said, can you get it down to 4 3/4 cookies?
Yep.
Oh yeah, I could do that. I mean, can you do it? They thought it was a joke. I'm like, well, that's where I want you to start. You know you can do that.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely, they just sliced it, and after several weeks, it was down to like 1 cookie a day from 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So, and they were okay with that. So they didn't deprive themselves. They didn't go from 5 to 0, but they did something that they knew they could do. And for another friend that wanted to start exercising, I said, can you do 1 push-up a day? One.
Yes. I had a similar strategy that worked well for me.
I'll start with 50. I said, no.
Yeah.
No. Can you do 1? Do you know you can do 1? Yes. Great. Do that for a week.
Yeah.
And they were getting bored. I was like, how about 2? Do you know you can do 2? And I just purposely did it slowly so they could build anticipation. And now they're at a place where they finally got the gym started to open, so they went back to the gym and all that stuff. But
Sure.
when you start with something that you know you can do, so if it's, well, since we're on the fitness thing, if you want to start walking, I say, can you walk to the end of your street and back, or the end of your driveway if you're in a house, or to your mailbox or whatever?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like a minute.
I remember.
Can you do that?
Yeah, I remember hearing Jim Quick was doing an interview, and I don't remember the fellow he was interviewing, but he worked in the fitness and goal space, and he was working with one gentleman who just was not ever in his life a big fitness guy, and he said to him, "Okay, in month 1, your goal is to drive to the gym every day. You don't have to go in. You can go in if you want to, but I just want you to drive there every day." Driving there, it was really hard for him to tell himself he couldn't do it, because even if he felt like crap, even if he looked like crap, he could get in the car, get there, get back, and he hit his goal. The amazing thing is that when he got there, a bunch of times that he had told himself, I'm just going to drive, he's like, you know what, I'm here, I'm going to go in. And I have a similar anecdote of my own where a girlfriend of mine in the goal and fitness space asked me if she could do a little bit of an experiment with me. And we started with one of the goals was, like, the first goal was 1 minute of weight training a day. And I found that when my goal was 5 minutes of weight training a day, I did on average between like 20 and 30 minutes every day. As soon as I crossed over and told myself I'm going to do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, all of those other numbers, I found excuses to tell myself I didn't have the time to do it. I'm going to fit it in later. It's 6 minutes. I'm going to fit it in later. If I don't do it now, I can run and do some other things. And I missed out on 20 to 30 minutes of exercise a day because the goal that I had set for myself was not aligned with who I am and what comes naturally to me. The truth is, when I lasted longer, it was because I felt good doing it. You know, the stretching felt good. The tension felt good. I didn't continue because I wanted to tell myself I exceeded my goal. I did it because I enjoyed what I was doing. So a lot to be said there. And I think it kind of comes back to this, well, for me anyways, in my mind, it reminds me of what I've heard in a few motivational talks on YouTube. And I believe Jordan Peterson talks about this in his book, 12 Rules of Life. And it's fix your bed, get out of bed and fix it. Because then you start your day and you've got one thing done and it's good and it's clean and it's just got this sense of closure. And to be able to check a box early off in your day is a really good way of creating momentum on the small things. So sometimes it's just those small things.
Well, often it is. And one of the questions I ask people is, how can you set up your life to win all throughout the day?
Yeah.
So, and it's what does win mean to you? So for you, I mean, one of your recipes for your success is, you're having fun doing it in the 5 minutes. So you know that. And so it just kind of comes back to what we said earlier, when you're having fun doing something that you like, and it's something that works for you. The guru might say, do an hour.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
And that's where the old me would say, oh, I tried an hour for, 3 months and nothing happened. And I got so frustrated and I felt terrible about myself. So it's really taking the time regularly. I do it every day because this is what I do, but I look at what worked for me today.
Mm-hmm.
Where was I really in the flow? What was the best part of my day? Why? For me. And I have my own success journals for myself and I write into it that, oh, this really worked for me. Why did it work for me? Okay. Why didn't that work for me? What triggered me? Stuff like that. I would ask the question, but because I'm looking for, when I'm working with clients, I'm looking for your own success recipe. Yeah. So I can take all the stuff, all the strategies that I've learned, and they're great stuff, but then how do we morph it so that it's custom to you so that you can maximize your time and go out there and shine your light and make that difference? Because we need all of you to be all of who you are. It's
amen to that.
We just do, because when you're at your best, you make the world better for the rest of us. And likewise, when each of us are at our best, we make the world better for ourselves and all the people we care about and love, and it just, keeps going out, ad infinitum to the rest of the world. And that's kind of my vision of, using, my why is taking a look at all the stuff I've learned in my life, from my life experiences, my natural gifts, and saying, how can I have fun making a difference for others? That's fun for me. It actually is fun.
Yeah.
To see people grow. I just got a text the other day from one of the things I help people with is telling powerful stories to grow their, business or their brand or whatever. And one of my clients just texted me saying, oh my God, a year ago I couldn't talk, couldn't do this. And now people are, now that COVID, things are opening up a little bit, they're getting all sorts of opportunities. And for me, it's exciting because of that growth. I can see the growth in somebody that they had to do the work. We work together, they apply it, and then they're growing. And it's like they're reaching audiences that I'm never going to be able to touch because they're in a different field.
Totally.
So you see what I'm saying? So that's why it's important for everyone on the call to cherish their life and to cherish their greatness and their goodness and know that it's there. We just have to get a lot of the stuff out of the way, all the stuff that we were taught by well-meaning people that in many ways actually hold us back.
Yeah, we have to choose our own story, for sure.
What's that?
We have to choose our own story, right? Like someone's giving you their story because they think it worked for them. But, each one of us is unique. Each one of us has a different purpose. And it's not our responsibility to relive someone else's truth and someone else's life. It's our responsibility to live our lives. I love what you just said about bringing all of ourselves. Just, life is short. It's deceivingly short. So live it.
Yeah. And ask yourself, to tag on to your point, ask yourself, how can I live my best life? What does that even mean to me? Or you might say, I don't even know what the heck that means. Great. So maybe the first step is to start to figure out what it even means. And not put pressure on yourself that you have to have it by tomorrow or the end of the year or whatever, but knowing that you're starting to work on, what, I'm worth it enough that my story matters, and I'm going to tell the best possible story I can and leave the greatest legacy I can leave because, you're unique in all the world. So why not leave your story? See, I never wanted to be, even though I studied with a lot of them, I never wanted to be a mini version of a guru. Because God, good for them. They're whomever they are, that's great. But I need to be myself.
Yep.
So how can I be the best version of myself? Thankfully now I'm on that path and hopefully continue to grow and expand every day and to enjoy the journey along the way.
All right. So Bobby, and I'm sure there are people out there where, your voice, your messaging, the things that you talked about tonight really resonated with them. How can people find you? If someone wants to work with you or if they want to follow the work that you're doing, what's the best place for them to do that?
They might want to go to my site initially just to see a little bit more about me. It's insideout.coach.
I'm going to put that into the comments actually. So insideout.coach.
And when they go there, there's actually a fun quiz that they might want to take to give them some insight about. It's a quiz based on many people say that there are three brains, one in your head, one in your heart, and one in your gut. So it's a quiz that will teach you which one that you're using more of. So, but from there you can see more of my what I offer, but really my story and my why of why I do what I do and why it's important. And for those of you who are on LinkedIn, you can see me on LinkedIn at Bobby Manard is my last name, so you can follow my post on LinkedIn. I will probably later this year. I'll probably have a blog that I'll be doing, and probably a couple different podcasts that I'll be doing as well. So. Just starting to get the information out in a wider focus, but so hopefully that answers your question.
I love it. It's perfect.
any questions from the audience, or?
No, and we did have quite a number of visitors come in and out, but we didn't get a lot of comments tonight, which is sometimes just an indication that we're bang on in terms of what they're thinking. So it's all good. This stuff will be live, though. Online, available. This live recording will be available for anybody who wants to check it out. So this will live in infamy. And from within, especially the LinkedIn post, Bobby Manard's handle is clickable. So go ahead and you can find him right there if you're watching this post this video right now. Now, on that note, I had a small glass of wine with me that I've just taken the last sip of. And in terms of, you said something a moment ago about choosing, go doing something that I can't remember what it was. It was something like living your best life, like choosing to do something you enjoy. And I thought about it as you were talking. And I'm going to go dance with my kids. I'm dragging my boy off of the Xbox, and we're gonna go have a little dance upstairs. How about you, Bobby? What are you gonna do now?
I was thinking of the dance stuff. I have a couple of songs that I'm actually a pretty good dancer, believe it or not. So
nice.
I will probably dance to one of my favorite songs. Is really old, but it's called "Walking on Sunshine."
Oh yeah.
It's just a fun song, and I get kind of silly with it. So. It's kind of a reward that I use throughout the day, different songs that I'll dance to, because that's what I love to do. And
beautiful.
You might as well tie it into what you're passionate with. So that's one of the things I'll be doing. So.
Awesome. I love it. Well, if you are ever feeling brave enough to share a dance video, I will certainly partake in the viewing of that.
Yeah, I might, but I don't know.
It's all good. It's all good.
We all have comfort zones, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Bobby, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for, becoming a friend and, a trusted expert in my circle. I've enjoyed our chats, and I'm really honored that you came and joined me for this Friday night. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. And if you ever want me to come back on for something else, sure, I'd love to do it. It'd be fun, and hopefully it was valuable for everyone on the call.
I'm positive it was. I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. Again, I know it sounds silly, but I always say your attention, your time, your eyeballs, your eardrums are the most valuable thing that you can give. And to spend even a few moments with me is truly, deeply an honor. And I'm grateful. I hope that your smart self soul was fed tonight. And if you have any comments, any questions, any recommendations of a guest, if you want to tell me your story and suggest that we have a chat and potentially have you on the show as well, please reach out. This is all about the community, and I'm here really with you guys. You're feeding my soul just by letting me chat with you and ask questions. So please do not be shy. Hit me up anytime. Twitter, LinkedIn. I always joke, don't hit me up on Pinterest, but maybe you can. Instagram, wherever you want to find me, I'll be there. To all you smart selves, and to you, Bobby, have a great night.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.